Okay, let's dig into this situation in Ukraine. There's been a 30-day ceasefire proposal put forward.
That's right. Led by the U.S. under President Trump. And it's really brought things to a head.
Definitely. So who are the main players we need to keep an eye on here?
Well, obviously Ukraine. And Russia, specifically Putin's decision-making.
Right.
Then you have the U.S. driving this, Germany showing significant European backing, and that broader coalition of the willing.
It seems like there's a pretty hard deadline involved.
There was. Reports said Russia had until, well, the end of yesterday, May 11th, basically, to respond.
Wow, okay. That's quick. We even heard Germany mentioning possible new sanctions if Russia rejected it.
Exactly. The pressure was clearly being applied. It signals a pretty firm stance from the U.S. and its allies.
But what does that deadline really tell us? I mean, what's the strategy?
It seems like a calculated risk. They're hoping the threat of more economic pain forces Russia's hand, forces a pause at least.
But Russia had its own demands too, didn't they? Something about mobilization and weapons.
Yes, straight away. They countered demanding Ukraine halt mobilization efforts and, crucially, that Western weapon delivery stop.
So they're linking any pause to those conditions.
It shows their immediate concerns likely about the situation on the ground, the battlefield dynamics.
Okay, and this all came after that summit in Kyiv on May 10th, where the deadline was actually set.
That's the timeline, yes.
So the big question then, leading up to last night, did Putin accept? Or are we now heading towards those sanctions?
Well, the news broke pretty fast. Last night, May 11th, word came through that Putin rejected the 30-day ceasefire proposal.
Rejected it outright.
Not quite a flat rejection, interestingly. They came back with a different idea.
Oh, what was that?
A counterproposal focused on resuming direct negotiations with Ukraine.
Direct talks.
And they even floated a potential meeting maybe in Istanbul around May 15th.
So rejecting the imposed ceasefire, but offering talks instead. What's the read on that?
Well, you could see it as Russia trying to regain control of the narrative, maybe. Rejecting the external pressure, but appearing open to dialogue, just on their own terms.
Is it a genuine opening, do you think? Or more tactical?
That's the key question, isn't it? It's hard to say for sure at this stage.
And how did Ukraine react?
Right.
President Zelensky must have responded by now, May 12th.
He did. He acknowledged, that Ukraine is ready for dialogue. That's positive.
But there's always a but, isn't there?
But he set a very clear condition. A confirmed ceasefire, actually starting today, May 12th, is the prerequisite for any talks.
Okay. So willingness to talk, yes, but only if the fighting stops first. That seems like a major hurdle right there.
It really is. The fighting itself is the central obstacle to starting the talks Ukraine wants.
And it's worth remembering, right, that the original 30-day pause did have support from Ukraine.
Absolutely. Ukraine, the U.S., the coalition, they were aligned on that initial idea. Putin's countermove shifts the ground completely.
Now, Turkey offered to mediate, I saw. What's the significance of that?
Well, Turkey often tries to play that role, positioning itself as a neutral bridge.
Right.
Their offer signals there's still this international push to find some way through. Even if this specific U.S.-led initiative stalled, it provides a potential channel.
But will it work?
It really depends on whether both sides are genuinely willing to use that channel to, compromise.
And Keith Kellogg, Trump's envoy, he weighed in too.
Yes, he made a statement that seemed to echo Zelensky's point, essentially.
Which was?
That real, meaningful negotiations, they can only happen after the fighting stops, after a cessation of hostilities.
Which sounds logical, but it seems that's the very thing they can't agree on how to achieve.
Precisely. It's that classic dilemma. Does a ceasefire come first to enable talks, or do talks lead to a ceasefire? Kellogg is clearly in the ceasefire first camp.
So as you look at all this back and forth, these conditions being set just to start talking, it really makes you think.
It does. What does a genuine path to de-escalation even look like when stopping the violence is itself the major point of contention.
Yeah. It highlights just how incredibly complex and difficult this conflict is to resolve. Lots to keep watching.